and repeat offenders is something that Mayor Brown and myself and council have been pushing the other orders of government to do for many, many years. And we continue to advocate. You know, the police in the city, we can do our job to put people behind bars, but if they're out of jail the next day, we're wasting our resources and putting safety at risk yet again.
Call 4483, you're on the air.
Hi, good morning, everyone. It's Councillor Rowena Santos. How are you?
Councillor Santos, good. How are you? Everything is fine here. I am so happy to hear your voice again. We talked about the speed camera. We talked about the bumps on the roads, those bumpers that were put on. We talked about the signs, and people are happy. Data shows those cameras are working. So can you talk a little bit about those cameras and how the residents are happy?
Yeah, well, as you all know, we had a telephone town hall on community safety together with Peel Regional Police, and the automated speed enforcement cameras, the speed cameras in community safety zones was a hot topic. It's been on the news on CP24, supported by the CAA and data. And in the town hall that we had, 86% of the people participating support having the speed cameras in place. And luckily for the city of Brampton, you know, for many years, speeding and unsafe driving in our local neighborhoods was one of the top concerns. It still is a top concern.
Hold on for a second. I just want to talk this in Punjabi. So, ਦਰਸ਼ਕ ਸਰੋਤੇ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲਾਊਡ ਮਫਲਰ ਸੀਗੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਪੀਡਿੰਗ ਰੈਜ਼ੀਡੈਂਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਏਰੀਆ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੀਗੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਤੰਗ ਕਰ ਰਹੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਸਾਡੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਡਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਨ ਸੋ ਸਿਟੀ ਵਾਲੇ ਕੈਮਰੇ ਤਾਂ ਬੰਪਸ ਤਾਂ ਹੀ ਲਾਏ ਸੀ ਸੜਕ ਉੱਪਰ ਵੀ ਲੋਕੀ ਠਹਿਰ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਮੰਨ ਜਾਣ ਰੁਕ ਜਾਣ ਫੇਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਰੁਕੇ ਫਿਰ ਕੈਮਰੇ ਲਗਾਏ ਗਏ ਹੁਣ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਫੋਨ ਕਾਲ ਕੱਲ ਰੱਖੀ ਗਈ ਸੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਸਾਂਝੇ ਕੀਤੇ ਲੋਕੀ ਲਾਈਕ ਕਰਦੇ ਯੂ ਗੋ ਹੈਡ ਨਾਓ
Okay, great. And so a couple of years ago, the city of Brampton, we budgeted for a historical number of speed cameras across the province. We are implementing by the end of this month 185 speed cameras. That's more than the city of Toronto. In order to deal with the amount of speeding in areas where there are schools, parks, playgrounds, seniors' homes, libraries. These are areas where people are moving around, crossing the street, walking on sidewalks at all times during the day. And that's why, you know, when we saw the results that are coming in about the fact that speed cameras work, in addition to all of the other measures that we are doing with speed bumps, road diet, traffic calming, increased signage, we are seeing that cars in some of these areas are slowing down up to 18 kilometers an hour. And that saves lives. It saves lives because speeding, we all know speeding kills, Baljinder. Speeding kills people and our children and our families, and it's preventable if people slow down. The other important thing is that we are seeing a change in behavior. So cameras also change behavior of drivers, and that ultimately is what we want to see in the city of Brampton.
Well, you keep up the good work. I have one question which when people ask me, I have to ask the councillor. Speed camera, were they a tender or was just a company brought in? How come they're so expensive? The system became so expensive to put in. That was a question by residents.
Yeah, so that went through a proper RFP, a procurement process.
Okay.
And the speed cameras that we have now are actually very high tech. They're not located on the ground anymore. That is subject to vandalism or what have you. We now implemented speed cameras that are high up.
Okay.
And very difficult for people to vandalize or to get to. So that went through a process, and now we're implementing it across the city in some of the most vulnerable areas identified in the community.
I got two more questions. One question was, okay, people didn't know the cameras they were 5 kilometers over, 7 kilometers over. They're learning. Now, if somebody got tickets, speeding tickets in 1 week for 3-4 tickets in a row, they were only doing 5 and 10. Can you release them, just charge them with one ticket and they learn their lesson in the future? future you can say there was a 3-month cooling period. After that, we're not, if you're 2 kilometers over, 3 kilometers over, we're still gonna take it. But can you help those people that didn't know that this was the case? They were good residents.
Yeah, so Baljinder, I think what I can say about folks who are saying that they're only 3 kilometers over, 2 kilometers over, in the city of Brampton, we've implemented best practices with respect to our speed cameras. So there is indeed a threshold. There's a threshold. So if you are, driving around the speed limit, chances are you will not be and should not be getting a ticket. There is a threshold, which I cannot share because that's a confidential thing.
No worries.
But there is a threshold. And at the end of the day, there's still the court. So if you feel like you've been unfairly assessed by the camera and that it's wrong, then you could fight it in the court and say, actually, X, Y, and Z.
Very well said. Very well said. One more question. My time is very limited. I'm sorry. I know you're busy too.
No problem.
One more question was, what are you, cameras are generating money. What are you doing with that money that's generated? Where is it going?
Yeah, so obviously it costs money to run a speed camera system, 185 cameras around the city, and to process the tickets. So anything that's collected from the cameras goes back into funding the automated speed enforcement processing center and all of the technology used to slow down cars. And any additional revenue generated beyond covering the costs of the program gets reinvested into further traffic calming, further road safety measures in the city of Brampton. For example, if we could cover all of our operating costs for slowing cars down with the camera system, we could reinvest some of the additional money into more speed bumps across the city so that we don't have to use property tax dollars to have more speed bumps across the city.
Very well said. This was a good work by the city, by everybody that is involved. That answers all of my questions, but I will get you on the air later on. You keep up the good work. Keep the city safe. One last question is, police is doing their job, city is doing their job. What are we doing to keep these people behind the bars? They're coming back and forth in the jail. We got to set up a system. People are fed up. And we will talk about this in a 1-hour program in the future, if you don't mind.
I'm very happy to come back on the show about this. Changing the legislation at the federal or provincial level with respect to bail reform and repeat offenders is something that Mayor Brown and myself and council have been pushing the other orders of government to do for many, many years. And we continue to advocate. The police in the city, we can do our job to put people behind bars, but if they're out of jail the next day, we're wasting our resources and putting safety at risk yet again. And so we need our federal, provincial partners to also come to the table to talk to us about what that bail reform law is going to look like, which is why I called for a national public safety summit, which will likely happen in the spring of next year, to bring all the chiefs of police around the country, as well as all other ministers and orders of government, to make sure that they get the bail reform correct. And so that we don't have to deal with the same, especially the violent offenders, back on our streets every single time the police arrest them.
Thank you very much. Gotta let you go. I got Avita Aliwalji sitting here. A lot of other guests are calling, and you keep up the good work. We'll set up some time next week for 1-hour show just on a couple subjects on the city. And stay healthy, stay safe. You're always beautiful. Keep up the good work.
Thank you so much, Baljinder. We'll talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.
Thank you very much. Bye. So lines are all busy. ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਕਾਫੀ ਸਾਰੀ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ. ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਕੋ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਸਾਂਝੇ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ 416 451 22 We love everybody. We love this country. We love you guys too. Just do your job. That's all we're saying. ਤੋਬਾ ਸਵੀਸ ਰੈਸਟ ਵਾਲੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਸਪਾਂਸਰ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਬੜੀ ਜਲਦੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਛੁੱਟੀ ਲੈਣੀ ਆ ਤੇ ਵੀਕਐਂਡ ਆ ਰਿਹਾ ਕੱਲ ਨੂੰ ਕਬੱਡੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਕਬੱਡੀ ਦੇਖਿਓ ਪਰਸੋਂ ਨੂੰ ਵਿੰਜ਼ਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਬੱਡੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਤੇ ਫੇਰ ਮੁੜ ਕੇ ਫੇਰ ਕੰਮਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਜਾਣਾ ਰੱਬ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਰਾਜ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਰੱਖੇ ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਕਲਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਰੱਖੇ ਮਾਂ ਪਿਓ ਦੀ ਸੇਵਾ ਰੱਬ ਦੀ ਸੇਵਾ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਕਿਤੇ ਛੱਡ ਨਾ ਆਇਓ ਕੁੱਤੇ ਬਿੱਲੀਆਂ ਦੀ ਖਾਤਰ ਮਾਂ ਪਿਓ ਵੀ ਸਾਂਭ ਲਿਆ ਕਰੋ ਰੱਬ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਘਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਸਦਾ ਹੈਵ ਅ ਗੁੱਡ ਡੇ ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ